The master key. I was saying that in order to achieve self-realization, effort alone is not sufficient. Efforts, of course, are useful and marvelous, but they are not enough. We need inner super efforts, here and now. Let us take an example. Suppose that you climb to the top of a high mountain, and when you reach the summit, it begins to rain. You return, and it is already night when you arrive home. At home, they are waiting for you with supper, bread, and a comfortable bed in which to rest, etc. But if you decide, for example, to go back again to the top of the mountain, that is a super effort. If in the first case there were efforts, then to return once more to the summit implies a super effort. Therefore, it is not merely effort that we need in order to achieve the inner self-realization of the being, but terrible, intimate super efforts, which must be made within oneself, here and now. Let us analyze this human species, or better said, this species of humanoids. These humanoids are nothing more than rational mammals. This may seem incredible, but it is the truth. What do we mean by mammals? Any creature that feeds through breasts. Cows, for example, we see the calf feeding from the udder, drinking the precious liquid, milk. All quadrupeds that nurse their young are mammals. The three-brained bipeds, mistakenly called men, are merely intellectual mammals, or rational mammals. It is a crude truth, is it not? Yet it is the truth. If we were to deny that we are intellectual mammals, we would commit a grave mistake, because in fact all of us were formed within the maternal womb and were nourished by the breasts of our mother, were we not? That is to say, we needed to suck. We are mammals, and to deny this would be absurd. To become men is something entirely different. Unfortunately, and this is the worst, people are convinced that they already belong to the human kingdom, that they are already men, real men. This is a grave error. To be a man is no small matter, because in order to be a man, it is necessary to possess the existential bodies of the being. Everyone believes they possess them, but this is not true. If, for example, we examine the state of the humanoids, we will see that, first of all, they possess a planetary body. By planetary body, I mean the physical body, the body we use to live on the planet Earth. That body obviously has a vital base, the Hindustani Linga Sharira. Beyond the physical body and its vital base, what do we find? A group of psychic aggregates controlling the organic machine. What do we mean by psychic aggregates? They are the psychic eyes. People believe they possess a single unified eye, and many theosophists, pseudo-Rosicrucians, and yogis also believe that they possess a unique, total eye, which they even deify. But what we actually possess is a legion of small, bawling, quarrelsome eyes. Each one of them is a psychic error. Some are anger, others greed, others lust, envy, pride, laziness, gluttony, etc., etc. The crude reality is that these eyes, bawling and quarrelsome, controlling the organic machine, are the psychic aggregates mentioned by the Tibetans. These aggregates, or eyes, are in reality diabolical, demoniacal creatures, created, I would say, from our own errors. The worst of it is that within these aggregates, the consciousness is trapped. Obviously, that consciousness is asleep, conditioned by the tenebrous functionalism of each aggregate. Every one of those aggregates has its own psychic functionalism, and the consciousness is conditioned by that particular mode of functioning. When death comes, what remains? A group of devils. That is all. Do these diabolical creatures return later? Yes, that is a fact. They return in order to reincarnate themselves into a new organism. However, not all of those psychological aggregates return. Some are lost. They adhere to certain places, fall into involution in the submerged mineral kingdom, reincorporate themselves into inferior animal organisms, etc. Only a portion of the group returns with the intention of projecting itself into the future through the alley of the present. This is the crude reality of what the humanoids carry within themselves. It is sad to say, but what is worse is that they return to repeat the same mistakes, the same tragedies, the same dramas. Everything repeats itself in the same manner, with the corresponding consequences of their actions. It is not pleasant, is it? Unfortunately, this is what happens. Such is the state in which we find ourselves, and it is not very agreeable. The important thing now is to escape from that state. That is what we must know and study. Obviously, there exists a key, a master key. It is the key of the arc of science. How did it come to us? Through the mysteries. What is that key? The great arcanum, the Magnus secret of alchemy and Kabbalah. With that key, we can open Pandora's box, the ark of the great secrets, and perform prodigies and wonders. Fortunately, we possess it, Maithuna, the great arcanum. It is necessary to understand that within the sacred sperm there exists a marvelous hydrogen, useful for the great work, sexual hydrogen, Si-12. That sperm is extraordinary. In ancient times, in the beginning of Lemuria, people did not extract the sacred sperm from the organism. Unfortunately, in parallel with the degeneration of humanity, people began to feel pleasure in extracting the sacred sperm, and as this vice spread, humanity became increasingly perverse. Now it is necessary to create the existential superior bodies of the being, to possess a sacred individuality. Through the transmutation of the sacred sperm, we can create the astral body. Not everyone possesses it, but it can be attained. Through the transmutation of the sacred sperm, the moment arrives when sexual hydrogen, Si-12, crystallizes in the form of the astral body. If you wish, next I can continue with the mental and causal sections. Unify terminology across the master key and the harvest of the sun. Prepare a final publishable edition, or do a side-by-side comparison with the Spanish original. Just tell me how you would like to proceed. Through the transformation of that sperm into energy, the moment arrives when sexual hydrogen, Si-12, crystallizes in the form of the mental body. Through the transmutation of the sacred sperm, the time also comes when sexual hydrogen, Si-12, crystallizes in the form of the body of conscious will. When one already possesses these bodies, the incarnation of the soul becomes possible, and one can become a real man, an authentic, legitimate human being. A man such as this, when he disembodies, can be found in the astral world. He can also be found in the mental world with his mental body, or in the causal world. This is a real man, an immortal man. However, and this is the problem, if one creates these bodies and becomes a real man, yet does not eliminate the psychic aggregates of which I have spoken, that is to say, if one does not have the patience to eliminate one's own psychic defects, one's own errors, if one does not wish to disintegrate those inhuman aggregates that make us mere rational mammals, then one fails in the great work of the Father. Such a person becomes a hanasmusin, one with a double center of gravity, an abortive creation of the cosmic mother. Therefore, the elimination of those psychic aggregates is indispensable. It is not enough merely to create the existential superior bodies of the being. We must also eliminate the psychic aggregates, our defects, our errors. How is the elimination of those psychic aggregates possible? By using the same creative energy. Just as sexual energy is useful for creation, it is also useful for destruction. With that energy, we can destroy, disintegrate the psychic aggregates. How is this done? What is the method, the technique? During Maithuna, one implores the Divine Mother Kundalini to eliminate, to disintegrate the error that has been understood. Of course, first, the defect must be understood before it can be eliminated. When one discovers a particular defect, it is necessary to meditate profoundly upon it, to the point of understanding it completely, to become conscious of its origin, where it comes from, how it was created, etc. Once the defect is fully comprehended, it can then be eliminated. I repeat, the elimination is carried out in the forge of the Cyclops. During Sahaja Maituna, one beseeches the Divine Mother Kundalini to eliminate, to disintegrate the error that has been understood, and she will do so. With the passage of time, one gradually eliminates one's own errors. But this work must be done voluntarily. It is possible only through conscious works and voluntary efforts. In practical life, in the struggle for daily bread, in relations with our parents, at home, with relatives, etc., the moment arrives when a particular defect is revealed. It is precisely in our interactions with others that hidden defects emerge. If we are alert and vigilant, like a watchman in times of war, we can perceive them. Once a defect is discovered, it must be studied profoundly at all levels of the mind. That is clear. Having discovered it, one must work on it, meditate upon it to understand it, to comprehend it. After comprehension comes the essential step, elimination. First to comprehend, then to eliminate. In this way, one dies from moment to moment. There are 3 works that we must accomplish. First, the existential superior bodies of the being must be created, so that one can become a man, truly belong to the human kingdom, and cease to be merely an intellectual mammal. Second, the animal part within us must be eliminated, all our errors, defects, barbaricisms. Third, we must raise the torch and show the path to others. We must sacrifice for humanity. We must learn to love our fellow human beings, because if we are concerned only with ourselves and do nothing for others, we become egotists, and the egotist advances at an exaggeratedly slow pace. If we wish to advance, we must not be egotistical. We must fight for the good of our fellow men in the social, economic, and all other fields. To work is basic, indispensable, urgent, and unavoidable. That is why Christ said, "If any man will come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me." To deny himself means the death of the ego. To take up the cross is to work in the forge of the Cyclops in order to achieve inner self-realization and to create the existential superior vehicles of the being. To follow Christ, that is, to sacrifice for humanity, is love. These are the 3 factors for the revolution of consciousness. Therefore, in order to enjoy total illumination, absolute illumination, all the inhuman elements that we carry within our intimate nature, which belong to the rational mammal, must be eliminated. As long as these inhuman defects exist, it is not possible to be an authentic, illuminated one. Through the path I have indicated, mastery can be attained, but one thing is to attain mastery and another is to attain perfection in mastery. These are not the same. It is not reasonable to expect an imperfect master to possess the perfections of a perfect master. When one becomes a man, when one has created the existential superior bodies of the being, one becomes a master. However, beyond this point lie 9 grades exceedingly difficult, more bitter than bile. To become a great elected and perfect master is the supreme aspiration. A perfect master is already something extraordinary, but the great elected is the one who has totally crystallized within himself the 3 primary forces of nature. That one is the great elected. Now, you may ask, "Venerable Master, could you explain what a hanasmusin is?" Obviously, a person who has created the existential bodies of the being must eliminate everything that does not belong to man. If one does not eliminate those inhuman elements, those elements that belong to the rational mammal, it is clear that one becomes an abortive creation of the cosmic mother, a chanasmusin with a double center of gravity. There are 4 types of chanasmusins, divided into 4 families. The first type may be called mortal chanasmusins. These are people who possess only the planetary body, the physical body. They have not created the existential superior bodies of the being, yet they have worked in black magic and eventually crystallize within their organism that something fatal and tenebrous which characterizes the chanasmusins. Fortunately, with the death of the physical body, that something fatal disappears, and only the inhuman psychic aggregates remain. These aggregates may later return in a new organism or fall into involution in the infernal worlds. There exists a second type of chanasmusin, those who have created the astral body and possess that vehicle, but who did not eliminate the inhuman elements. Because of this failure, they became chanasmusins. The ego within the astral body creates that something fatal characteristic of chanasmusins. This second class of chanasmusins can voluntarily eliminate that something fatal if they so choose. However, if they do not do so, the great law may cause them to return and reincorporate into animal organisms, not only bi-brained animals, but even one-brained ones. Through this system of reincorporation into inferior animal organisms, they may eliminate what they have of chanasmusin. There is a third type of chanasmusin, people who have created the existential superior bodies of the being and have become men, those who possess an authentic astral body, a real mental vehicle, and the causal body or body of conscious will. If such individuals do not eliminate the inhuman elements, not only do they fail to achieve perfect illumination and true wisdom, but what is worse, they become chanasmusins. This occurs because the ego, the inhuman elements, creates within them that something fatal that defines chanasmusins. For this type of individual, there is no other solution than to work upon oneself through conscious work and voluntary suffering in order to eliminate what they have of chanasmusin. Otherwise, there is no other path but submerged involution in the infernal worlds, a descent through animaloid, vegetaloid, and mineraloid states until the second death is attained. After this, the essence is liberated and returns to the surface of the planet to reinitiate a new evolution, beginning once again from the mineral kingdom. Unfortunately, this is the fate of the third type of chanasmusins. There is a fourth type, chanasmusins who not only became men, but who reached the states of angels, archangels, or gods, and then fell. The ego formed within their vehicles that same something fatal, and if they do not decide to eliminate it, the law will also punish them. They will be precipitated into the submerged involution of the infernal worlds until the second death is reached. Afterward, the consciousness, the fraction of the soul, the essence, returns once again to evolve from the mineral kingdom, passing through the vegetable and animal states, in order to reconquer the human state that was lost. Such is the fate of the third type of chanasmusins. Therefore, it is one thing or the other. Either we eliminate the inhuman elements within ourselves, or we become chanasmusins. It is not enough merely to create the existential superior bodies of the being. We must also eliminate what is inhuman within us. Venerable Master, I would like you to clarify an idea that has arisen in Venezuela. We have always believed that the closure is made from left to right, but now someone has introduced a new idea of closure, and since then it is done in an inverted way. However, I have seen you perform the closure in our past meeting, as we have always done it. I would like an explanation. Well, my dear brother, I do not know why the Gnostic brothers gave the name closure to this practice, because it is not truly a closure. No one can close themselves with it. The symbol of the cross within the circle is an esoteric symbol and has nothing to do with a closure. The cross, with its two beams, one vertical and one horizontal, expresses something absolutely sexual. We already know that the vertical beam is masculine and the horizontal beam is feminine, and that their intersection is the key of all power, Maithuna. The circle surrounding the cross indicates that these two eternal principles come from the universal spirit of life, from eternity, and that all creation is based upon these two powers, masculine and feminine. Now you will understand why in every theology there always appears a masculine deity and a feminine deity, Joseph and Mary, Isis and Osiris, etc. Both symbolize the lingam yoni, phallus, uterus. Does the third logos create? Yes, he creates by combining his masculine and feminine elements. Creatures reproduce themselves through sex. Even flowers must use masculine and feminine powers for reproduction. Through the Holy Cross, that is, through the lingam yoni, we can create the existential superior bodies of the being. That is the power of the cross, and all of this occurs within the circle of eternity. But this is not a closure, it is a symbol. It makes no difference whether one moves the hand from right to left or from left to right. I do not understand why the brothers give so much importance to the direction of the hand, when this is not a closure at all. It is merely a symbol. Student: Yes, we understand. It happens that the word closure comes from your book, Logos, Mantra, Theurgy, in which you recommended a kind of closure to be done from left to right, leaving an open space to allow forces to enter the person. Then you did not understand correctly what I wrote. I never used the word closure in the way the brothers understood it, as a magical seal or something similar. That was never my intention. When I said closure, I was referring simply to how the circle is completed, nothing more. A true closure, for example, is when one draws a circle on the floor to invoke a being or a master of the astral. In that case, one makes a complete circle, interrupted only by the seal of Solomon. That is a real and extraordinary closure, used to prevent attacks from negative entities, but only in such specific cases. I did not want to call the cross inside the circle a closure, because that would be absurd. It is only a symbol. I merely used the word closure because one makes a circle with the hand and closes it. Therefore, the brothers have not understood me. They have given this symbol a meaning that it does not have. Anyone may make the cross inside the circle as they wish, moving the hand from right to left or from left to right. That does not matter at all. What truly counts is the cross within the circle as a sacred symbol of the masculine-feminine sexual intersection that allows us to achieve the inner self-realization. Student: On this same subject, Venerable Master, there is another problem. We learned that we must rotate the chakras from left to right using the imagination. Now it seems that they must be moved from right to left. In this case, is the problem of the chakras the same as that of the cross within the circle? There is no relationship between the chakras and the symbol of the cross within the circle of eternity. Do not connect one thing with the other. The chakras must be rotated in a positive manner, from left to right, as the hands of a clock when observed from the front. Student: For example, Master, the clock is over there. I am observing it in front of me. How should I rotate the chakras? In the same way, you see the hands of the clock moving. You are observing the clock on the wall. How do you see its hands move? In exactly the same way, you must rotate the chakras. Observe carefully the movement of the clock hands. Unfortunately, some brothers and sisters have complicated things with small details, and this is very unfortunate. What I want you to understand is that it is necessary to work with the sacred fire. The Divine Mother Kundalini Shakti will take care of the development of the chakras in the correct and positive manner. We must leave the chakras to the Divine Mother. She knows what she is doing. You must simply vocalize and act like a gardener who waters his garden every day until the flowers bloom by themselves, because it is Mother Nature who makes them bloom, who opens the petals of the roses. In the same way, water your garden daily, cultivate the rose, transmute the creative energies, and the Blessed Divine Mother will know how to rotate the chakras. Obviously, it is from left to right, but this is her work, not yours. All you must do is transmute, vocalize, pray, and meditate intensely on the Divine Mother. Student: about plants, Master, there is also some confusion. Should the circle be made from left to right? Is it necessary to make the circle, or is it enough just to bless the plant? The circle must be made around the plant, and then the plant must be blessed. Anyone may do it as they wish, from left to right or from right to left. The important thing is to make the circle and not to complicate matters with small details. I do not know why brothers and sisters, especially in South America, become confused about this. What truly matters is to work with the fire, and the Divine Mother will take care of putting order into the entire organism and into the chakras. That is what really counts. Student: it has also been said in South America, after studying your book, The Three Mountains, that the work with the fire, that is, the 5 great initiations, are minor mysteries, and that the other grades of mastery are the major mysteries. What do you think about this? In my book, The Three Mountains, I did not speak about the minor mysteries. I spoke only about the 3 mountains. The first mountain belongs to initiation. I spoke about the initiations of major mysteries because the 9 initiations of minor mysteries belong to the kindergarten stage, to the conditional disciples. Since the 3 mountains are fundamental, I spoke only about the accepted disciples. The second mountain belongs to the resurrection. There we find the 9 grades that lead to perfection in the mastery. It is clear that on the first mountain one achieves mastery when one reaches the summit. On the second mountain one achieves perfection in the mastery. And on the third mountain one attains the grade of great elected and perfect master. The great elected and perfect master is the highest aspiration of every adept. What else were you going to ask? Student: that point is now clear, Master, and we have understood it as you explained. You speak of the 9 great initiations of major mysteries and then of all the special processes. Is that correct? No, you are mistaken. The initiations of major mysteries are not 9, they are 8. Therefore, there are 8 great initiations of major mysteries. In the second mountain, one must pass through 9 grades in order to achieve perfection in the mastery. I repeat, on the third mountain, one achieves the grade of great elected and perfect master. Student: Venerable Master, we have read in your books that there are 5 initiations of major mysteries, plus 2 corresponding to the Father's crown. Now you say there are 8. At the time we began writing our books, we mistakenly said that there were 9 initiations of major mysteries. This error was later corrected in our book, The Three Mountains. This reminds me of a celebration that took place among the Nahuatl and Aztec peoples of Mexico. It was a marvelous celebration held every 8 years in honor of Venus. Let us remember the Venustic initiation and its 8 grades. Those ancient tribes understood the esotericism of these matters. It is clear that the 5 initiations I referred to are the initiations of fire. After these comes the Venustic initiation, which consists of 8 grades. The first Venustic initiation is simply the superior octave of the first initiation of fire. The second Venustic initiation is the superior octave of the second initiation of fire. The third Venustic initiation is the superior octave of the third initiation of fire. The fourth Venustic initiation is the superior octave of the fourth initiation of fire. The fifth Venustic initiation is the superior octave of the fifth initiation of fire. After this come the 3 remaining initiations, making a total of 8, which are related to the first mountain, that is, the first mountain itself. On the second mountain, one must begin the work with the Moon, Mercury, Venus, the Sun, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune in order to achieve perfection in the mastery. This is the mountain of the resurrection. The third mountain corresponds to the ascension, where one finally crystallizes within oneself the second and first logos and receives the inner atomic star. The person who attains the summit of the third mountain is not only a perfect master, but a great elected. Student: Venerable Master, you have said that it is necessary to eliminate the 3 traitors of Hiram Abiff. Now, in your book, The 3 Mountains, you state that we must eliminate the 3 Furies, and that this work is only for masters. My question is the elimination of the 3 Furies or the 3 traitors only for masters, or are you also referring to Gnostic students in general? The 3 Furies and the 3 traitors are the same. They are simply different names that express the same reality. The demon of desire, the demon of the mind, Judas, and the demon of ill will. The demon of desire is the inner Judas that each one of us carries within. The demon of the mind is the particular pilot in each person, the one who always washes his hands, who always finds justifications, who is never guilty, who constantly excuses himself and believes he is always right. The third traitor is obviously ill will, Caiaphas. These 3 traitors of Hiram Abiff, Judas, Pilate, and Caiaphas, are represented in ancient mythology as the 3 Furies. We must destroy these 3 traitors of Hiram Abiff in the lunar sphere. Those who wish to attain the angelic state must disintegrate them in the infernal worlds of the lunar sphere. I believe that disciples, beginners, are still very far from the disintegration of these 3 traitors. This work corresponds to those who have already achieved mastery. This is how I have always understood it. At least this is how I have lived it, and I cannot affirm anything that I have not personally experienced. I affirm only what I have lived myself, nothing more. Inverential peace. Samael Aun Weor.